Well, your eyes are sort of looking out there, and I thought,
No, I didn't mean I
my
thought I
mom, are
could
you
hear.
talking to me, Karen?
No, because I could hear you talking to Eric, and I'm like, go girl.
Anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Ready to go live?
Uh-oh.
You're on TV. At 7 o'clock, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Ansorgi,
Here.
Commissioner Rushton. Present. Chairman Bonnet,
Here.
Commissioner Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Susslow. Here. Commissioner Rettenbach,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner. Present.
Thank you. So now we have our communications, proclamations, and presentations. So initially, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, let's just start. Obviously, there was another Supreme Court ruling yesterday. I've got questions and phone calls from several townships, how to proceed and how we're going to proceed with the Open Meetings Act. And we are actually in fairly good shape because, as you know, 2 years ago, you modified the rules to allow remote participation. And therefore, the courts ruled that the governor's orders are rescinded. However, the law does allow you to have remote participation if the majority of the commissioners are physically present in the room. So you are, and by your board policy, you allow remote participation by commissioners. I believe it's limited to 2 times per year. The meetings during the executive order do not count towards that 2 times limit, but going forward, they may count. As I hear from MAC and I talk to legal counsel, there's a good chance the Michigan House and Senate and the governor will modify the Open Meetings Act in the next month to allow some form of distance participation and maybe a hybrid. And so we'll just keep an eye on it. But for now, we are perfectly legal with this meeting. We do open up the public. We still are broadcasting live. We're still letting people do public comment remotely by the phone call. So we're in full compliance with the Open Meetings Act.
Commissioner Anderson.
I know some other municipalities are making a actual vote to say that anything that we did in the past is appropriate and legal. Do we need to do that?
I have not got that feedback from our legal counsel. He did not bring that up. And so.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. So we can double check that, but I have not received that feedback from legal counsel. So as you know, these are evolving times and they change sometimes day by day. And so I'll keep you updated. I think all of you are on the MAC email list, so you're getting updates too. And usually when there's a major decision, coastal for issues of legal opinion within days, so I'm sure they'll have one on this also. But the question came up about this afternoon's joint meeting, and then I got some calls from townships. Some townships do not have the ability to separate themselves and have remote meetings. So some of the units of government have actually canceled some of their meetings. I think it was in the paper today at one local meeting, it was canceled to be in compliance, but I feel confident that we're going to go forward, and I'll keep you all updated on the situation. And it's nice to have some people in the room with us too.
Welcome.
All right, so then also, I move on, and we have recognition of the Michigan Court Administrator of the Year Award.
Yeah,
Ms. Stocking.
let me start with this. This is probably the most important thing on the agenda. Carol, could you stand up? We'll pretend you're here. I'm just joking here. I think it was about 6 weeks ago, Carol received a great honor, and she was named the Court Administrator of the Year. And as you know, these are very difficult jobs. I think it's actually a very complex job because not only do you have to work with county boards, you have to work with the judges, you have to work with county administrators and try to juggle all the balls and keep them all up in the air. And Carol's done a great job with that for many years. She has a natural talent. And Carol, we have a certificate here for you.
Yes.
You want to read it, Mr.
Yeah,
Bennett?
this is a certificate of recognition on behalf of the citizens of Leelanau County. The Leelanau County Board of Commissioners is honored to present the certificate of recognition to Carol Stockman for her 20 years of service with the Antrim, Grand Traverse, and Leelanau County 86th District Court, culminating with serving as a District Court Administrator. And so we'll have this certificate for you when you're available.
Yeah, even Carol, let's all stand together.
Well,
Okay, 45 minutes on the agenda to speak.
I just want to say thank you so very much for recognizing me and taking time out of your busy agenda to put me on it for this recognition. Seriously, I feel like I've had a really, really great working relationship with your county administrators, with all of you as board members, which I really appreciate. I have a really good working relationship with Michelle and her staff. I really could not say anything but thank you. Anything negative about my working relationship with all of you. And so I thank you. Oh, that's super nice. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I really do take thank you for your team of your board members showing this appreciation. Thank you.
And somehow, Carol, you may not know, her mother and her grandfather were county commissioners, correct, Carol?
Yes.
Your grandfather was on the county board for how many years?
Ooh, probably 15 or 20. He was the first commissioner that represented the southern part of the county. Before that, I don't know what they did, but they didn't have commissioners that represented, those people that lived in the hills like we did. And so he was the first commissioner representing the southern part of Grand Traverse County. And then when he retired, my mom became a commissioner. And just to be very clear, there's no future as a commissioner in my world.
I think your grandfather served on the original board of supervisors, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And Commissioner Walters, you probably know, Carol's a strong family farm background.
I know there's more than Carol. There's other options other than Carol for a county commissioner out of the
Yes.
family.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, actually, we have quite a relationship with the McManus family, and so yeah, we have on our way.
And also, Carol and I are semi-distantly related through marriage, through
That's right.
my sister.
That is married to one of my relatives.
Yeah, so a lot of ties here, so
Same
thank
with
you,
Carol
Carol.
and I too, so there you go.
All I can say is that's Leelanau and Grand Traverse County.
That's right. Yep,
Carol and I share relatives too.
that's right.
I'd like to move on here.
You go on.
So now that brings up the 86th District Court Department update. And I think, Carol, you want to start?
Do you have any updates?
Yeah, so I just want to say that we have a little something that we want to talk about. Each one of us has a part, and really no particular order, but I did put something together. So I think Judge Cooney's going to start.
Okay, so congratulations again, Carol. I'm probably the only one here not related to you, although I buy their family farm maple syrup, and it's very good. So I just wanted to start out by mentioning our continued commitment to our treatment courts. We have sobriety court, drug treatment court, domestic violence court, and more recently, we've started planning a veterans treatment court. As you can see from our annual report, There is a lot of emphasis in the foreword about those courts, and I think it was appropriate to place it up front. Judge Stepka and I are strong believers that the best way to protect public safety and reduce recidivism are our specialty courts. The most rewarding part of my job, truly, is to see the change in individuals who have gone through the darkness of addiction in my drug treatment court to becoming productive employees and strong family members and productive citizens who you'd all be glad to call your friends. So in 2019, we started planning for a veterans treatment court. And this is something the court had attempted in the past, but somewhere along the line it didn't survive because the numbers weren't there. And although the numbers haven't really changed all that much, what we hope to do is to create a more individualized treatment court. And this involves working closely with the Veterans Administration to tap into their resources. And they have plenty of them out there. Sometimes it's just getting the veteran connected to the services that makes all the difference. We're fortunate to have Michael Roof, the director of the VA, helping with this project. He actually helped head up a veterans treatment court in Indiana, where he was from before he came to Traverse City. And he's just a wealth of information, and I think this is going to be a good partnership. We did receive a grant from the state to help with our efforts, $35,000, as well as receiving the grant money, and I don't believe it was reduced at all for both the sobriety and drug courts. So we're in good shape there. Finally, I just want to mention that our sobriety and drug court programs were both certified by the state this year. And so that means they were audited by the state, which is a new requirement. And it means that we're meeting all best practices. And the important thing for you to know is that it means we continue to receive grant funding from the state as well. And it means, most importantly, we're doing things the right way, hopefully. So that's all I have to say. And so I'm gonna, if there aren't any questions at this point anyway, I'll hand it off to Carol.
Okay, thank you. So the item that I wanted to talk about just briefly was the fact that our court, we have worked over the past 7 to 10 years working on making the whole court paperless. We're using the on-base system. We have everybody in all counties on the system with the exception of the Civil Division in Antrim, and that's going to be coming on very, very soon. But I will say that when COVID hit last spring, other than the short period of time that we were kind of, everything came to a screeching halt because it was new to everyone. No one knew what we were supposed to do. Once we got Zoom accounts for the Zoom courtrooms for the judges, and we went back to business, we were back in business without any trouble. We don't need paper files from any county. Things got scheduled. The judges went on the bench, and they're hearing cases just like it was pre-COVID. So we've been very fortunate to have completed the paperless process to the point that we have during this pandemic. Dawn, do you want to talk about any other highlights of the annual report?
Yeah, I just want to say, for those who aren't familiar with our annual report, we do keep archived copies on our website. So if you were to go to the 86th District Court website, you can go back many years. But a couple of things. 2019 was a busy year for us, and our annual reports are always 1 year behind. And so in 2019, one of the big things that happened was we were able to have our new judge, Judge Cooney, take the bench. In addition to the electronic system that we got, we also went through a strategic planning session. That got kind of interrupted due to COVID, but our plan is to improve our mission and improve, how the district court handles cases and deals with the public and everybody that comes through. So hopefully once COVID's done, we can get back on that horse and complete our mission. One of the other big changes to this year's annual report was we decided to do a historical look back at case filings. And so if you look into our report on page 13, I believe it is, starts the historical trend for felony cases, and then it goes on to misdemeanor cases and traffic tickets. And what's interesting, I'm a numbers gal, so what's interesting for me is a look at how things have changed over the last 18 years, and it has changed a bit. I think that is pretty much the big difference in the annual report. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm passing the torch on to Judge Stepka.
Okay, thank you very much, Dawn. In a minute here, I want to talk about some accomplishments of our Deputy Court Administrator, Dawn Wagner. But first, I want to, again, congratulate Carol. Chet really explained the difficulty and complexity and great workload that she has. So congratulations, Carol, for that award. But I also want to, again, thank the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners. I think it was October of 2016 when we were before you requesting that two things. One, that we be allowed to hire or create a position for Deputy Court Administrator, which is Dawn's. And then your board had the foresight to recognize Carol's experience, knowledge, talent, and value to the board. And you made her your employee. We could keep her, and she's here today receiving this award. So thank you very much for the board in that matter. With respect to Dawn's accomplishment, she's really moving up the board administrator ladder, so to speak. The National Center for State Courts Institute for Court Management offers a 3-level course of court management certification. The first level is Certified Court Manager, the acronym PM. The topics as part of that certification are accountability, court performance, budget and fiscal management, case flow and workflow management, project management for the courts, purpose and responsibilities of courts, and workforce management. The Michigan Court Administrators Association partnered with the National Center for Courts Institute for Court Management, partnered together to bring the certification program to Michigan. And after a highly competitive application process, only 50 participants were selected to take part in this 2-year program. And our Deputy Court Administrator, Dawn Wagner, was selected to participate in that certification program. And last fall, 2019, along with 50 other administrators from around the state, took part in a graduation ceremony held at the Hall of Justice in Lansing and earned her CCM certification. So we're very lucky to have both Dawn and Carol with us. Very lucky. They do so much. And again, thank you to the board for helping us with those positions. Now, current caseloads, briefly, they've increased to normal numbers after the low numbers in April, May, and somewhat in June of this year during the pandemic. Leelanau averaged about 130 cases per month, and that's all case types. But in the second quarter of this year, those dropped to 75 per month. However, in the third quarter this year, we're back up to 173 per month. So the case numbers have gone right back to where they were in January and February of this year. And just briefly, revenues are following the cases. We normally average about $28,000 in revenue monthly. During the second quarter, that dropped to an average of $11,500. But in the third quarter, we're now back up to $26,400. So the case numbers and revenue were back up to where they were before. And we continue to work with the health departments and watch the COVID positivity percentages. We plan to begin jury selections and jury trials later this month and then into November. So that's what I have. Thank you very much, everybody. We really appreciate you.
Does any of the board members have any questions of any of us?
No, I guess not. You're very thorough.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Dawn.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Dawn
Yeah.
for certification.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us again this year. We'll see you next year.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Care.
So then we'll move on to the approval of board minutes, and we have them from 9/8 and 9/25. I think we'll wait on the executive ones for last week. Commissioner Walker.
I would move approval of the Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 minutes and the Friday, September 25th, 2020 minutes.
Or all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same sign. The motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, so then we have a agenda, approval of agenda. I don't have any late additions. Commissioner Rush.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much for that. Then that brings us to public comment. If you are on the phone or I'm watching and you want to call in, the number is 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109. If there's anyone here, you can come forward. Okay, seeing none. So then we would move on then to our public budget hearing. So I would recess the statutory annual meeting and open the public budget hearing. So we'd have to give our final staff report.
Madam Clerk, is there an update on the budget, or is there any changes made from?
Well, Jen had our presentation. I don't know where she went. Let me go get her.
Okay.
So we don't have to have a motion to recess and recess us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that all the time when we take a break.
That's so great.
We are basically taking a break
Yeah.
Okay,
from the regular meetings.
technically, okay.
Lines are square.
Lost. It's the wiki.
She's coming.
She's coming. I can tell you that we do have it balanced at $14,394,935. Should we go to the book table?
Oh,
Just
sure.
give a little presentation and take the book with you. And all the changes we made.
Okay.
We're all concerned about you.
I'm very sorry.
That you speak.
And I escaped? I know. I wasn't. I was at my desk. Okay. Brief overview. So under revenue summary, for the general fund to have a proposed balanced budget, we are pulling $1,012,481 from the fund balance to balance your proposed expenditures. And then within the special funds, that's the majority of the changes that you allocated towards. Some of those referenced is the dam authority. We did those changes to their requests, and as well as the capital improvements that we did, the 470. And also we took and $35,000 to bring into the general fund from the DTR for the proposed MERS payment of 250,000. So the general fund will take just a little bit of that balance to do that 250 allotment. The heat pump replacement repair is now going to be more of an ongoing instead of your phase 2 and 3. So there is $80,500 allocated to the heat pump replacements, and John transferred in $105,500 to cover normal maintenance if something arises, as well as the heat pumps. Does anybody have any questions?
What was that last number, 105?
105,500, yep, so 105,500.
And that came from DTR?
DTR.
So we actually have 186 total for the HVAC?
No, it'll be on the heat pump replacements. The quote stayed with the 8,000 per unit, so it's 80,500 is the heat pump replacement, and then we selected $27,000 in contractual services, and we place that in there in the event we need something in either building, something major. Otherwise, that would come from Jerry's budget.
So similar to the piping that we just did, that was 38,000?
Yes.
Is that what you're thinking?
So the 38, yes, so the 38,000 I am amending tonight, and when you go back into regular session, and moving money for that function. This one is, we wanted to see, hopefully over a period of time, per your request, of putting $25,000, typically from the general fund, into the capital improvements to, in essence, make sure we secure funds for future replacements or additions and such. So that's where that, between the 105 and the 80 comes into play.
I just want to clarify something. I know the commissioners know this, I know we all know, but for many people watching, you see the MERS payment of $250,000, that's on top of our mandated payments. This
Correct.
is extra funds to lower our MERS liability.
Correct. The MERS actuarial tells us our flat amount payments for our closed group, and also gives us the percentage of what we have for the group that is still open to new employees. On top of that amount, the board has allocated $250,000 from funding. In this case, it'll be DTR and a little bit of general fund to pay into that liability.
And then when you talk about potential transfer of fund balance, we do that every year on budget, but fortunately every year our revenues have exceeded what our budget amount is, and our expenditures have decreased. So outside of 1 year, at least since I've been here, we've always balanced our budget every year without a significant dip into fund balance. I know all of you know this, but I just want to make sure people maybe watching it understand that.
Absolutely. So typically, as commissioners, you have your revenues staying in a stance of a status quo, meaning we may have only limits that we increase that we know of. Otherwise, it's based on the tax roll. And in that instance, typically our revenues do come in generally higher over the periods of time, and unless it's an event that has been pre-planned. So in 2018, you had a net revenues over expenses of $142,000. In 2019, you proposed spending $750,000 on phase 1, the HVAC system here in this building. Of that $750,000, you only needed to take $616,000 from your budgets with revenues coming in over expenditures. And then so on and so forth prior and going forward. We anticipate that this year's revenues will come in as scheduled, and that there most likely will be a revenue over expenditures as well for 2020.
Anything else?
Not unless you have any changes or anything that you're aware of that you wanted to ask.
I do want to acknowledge Michelle and Jim for all their hard work since we start the process usually in May internally. As you know, we've had a lot of budget meetings, and they always come very well prepared. And when it comes to numbers, there's no one better than Jen. She can answer any question at any time about finances. Or if you give her 3 minutes, she'll find the answer. So I just want to say thank you to Michelle and Jen. And putting those books together is a lot of work. It's not just photocopy, it's getting all those numbers and doing every single line item there. It's a lot of work, so thank you, Jen and Michelle.
Thank you.
Then that would bring it to public comment for this public hearing on the budget. Is there any public comment? The number to call would be 231-256-8109. 231-256-8109. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we can resume our statutory annual meeting. So then that would bring us to the action items. And the first action item is emergency management performance grant renewal. Commissioner Rushing.
I would move to allow the chairman of the board to sign the fiscal year 2020 EMPG work agreement and other documents related to this grant agreement, and to allow the Office of Emergency Management to submit electronic signatures for the required quarterly reports.
Or
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Then we have the government center tower update. Matt, you're up.
All right. We did receive, we were able to contact the engineers from Swagger Communications today. Their final report will be forthcoming either tomorrow or the day after. The preliminary findings were not really favorable for the existing tower, meaning that it would cost us as much, if not more money, to retrofit and reinforce the existing tower. So unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to be a favorable conclusion for us. Talking with the engineer, there were some other aspects that we could pursue with an additional tower site. And speaking it over with the administrator, what we believe that would be our best course of action would be to resubmit the RFP process, a more complete RFP, get every aspect of the tower that we need, and then have a projected start time of the spring. And we're not going to be losing a whole lot of time because winter is coming and construction time is going to be delayed because of that anyway. So doing our due diligence to get this tower review was a favorable thing for the county. And we're not going to be losing any more time taking a little bit extra care for an additional RFP process.
Any questions for Matt? Thank you very much. Sorry about all that work and didn't result in.
Yeah, no, it's better in the long run. So we're good with that.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's move on then to the potential contract with Agri Valley Services.
Okay, we were able to reach an agreement with the legal negotiation of the contract. So we do have, I was able to get a version of the Maple City Tower contract before you yesterday. And I do apologize it wasn't any sooner than that, but I wanted to get it to you as soon as possible. But what we will do is enter into 3 different contracts with Agri Valley, 1 per tower. So they will be on the Maple City, the Central Tower, and the Omena Tower.
I would like to make a motion, move to approve the 3 towers contracts with Agri Valley Services for internet, for providing internet on those 3 towers, internet service.
Support.
Just, could you please add pending final legal review?
I certainly will, pending final legal review.
Because even though they agreed verbally, I mean, late this afternoon, if there's some minor changes, that way we can proceed. And
That's good. And if I may speak to that.
I agree with the second. I didn't.
yes.
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
I just want to thank Matt for all the work that he's put into this, and also Maria Peen from Agro Valley. This was a major accomplishment to put it together so quickly, but I know everyone knows, how needed internet service is. But I just want to caution people, as much as we'd like to have it tomorrow with people scampering up the towers, that's not how it happens. This is going to take time. They're going to have to test out equipment, and I think I did mention last time that Agro Valley has purchased 4 of the 7 available CBRS licenses and are testing out that equipment to utilize in Leelanau County as well. So this is going to take a little bit of time, but it's an outstanding addition to our internet service here in Leelanau County once they're able to actually get the service moving.
Any other comments? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that brings us to equalization. Yes, Mr. Weston.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners adopt Leelanau County Resolution Number 2020-017, approving the County 2020 Apportionment Report L-4402 as presented.
Mine says 2020-018. Isn't it? Or is that a different one?
That's a different one.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Can we have a second?
I would second that motion.
All right. This will have to be a roll call.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Ansargi,
Yes.
Chairman Bonick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rettenbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Suslowell,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. So then that brings us to planning, community development, EPA grant consideration update.
Mrs. Geller this year.
Good evening. I sent an email out to you over the weekend and with the copy that I also handed out to you tonight. So I'm here tonight to see if you would approve submittal of the EPA grant application. What you have that was emailed to you and then handed out tonight is a summary of it. So we have reviewed the first draft of it so far. The actual application is due on October 28th. We still have some work to do on it. It's a standard set of questions. Everyone has to answer them the same, but you have to tell your story. You have to tell why your community is asking for the funds, what they're going to do with them, provide your budget, and so on. So we're trying to just really polish it up very well before we get it submitted. So if you are in acceptance of us moving forward and submitting that grant, the Brownfield Authority will also review it next Tuesday and give their comments so that we can continue to make it as good as possible before submitting it.
Commissioner Suslowell.
I move to the Board of Commissioners, I know it's hard to hear me today, I'm sorry. I move to the Board of Commissioners to place the EPA assessment grant application, oops, that was last week's, so sorry. I move that we submit, thank you, the EPA
Assessment grant application.
There we go. The EPA, I've got my place here now. EPA assessment grant application to meet the deadline of October 28th, 2020.
Second. I second.
Got it. Any other questions or statements? Commissioner Rush.
So Trudy, just to clarify, we're requesting a $200,000 grant with 0 match.
Correct.
And those funds will be used specifically for, to assess potential brownfield sites. And only phase 1 and phase 2, is that the only thing that's allowed with these grant dollars?
And baseline environmental assessments as well that we can do. But we can't do any cleanup with these funds.
Okay.
And no demolition.
No cleanup, no demo.
Right.
Okay. So when we're looking at a site like Sugarloaf, can we anticipate what that cost might be for phase 1, phase 2, or a baseline? Is it going to eat up all of the grant funding is what I'm wondering.
We have done work on Sugarloaf in the past. The first time around, it was about $40,000 for assessment funds on that site, because it was a big site and there was a lot of work to be done with underground tanks and assessment of the building and getting costs for getting rid of asbestos and lead-based paint, things like that.
I guess where I'm going with this is this whole grant going to be spent at Sugarloaf, or are there going to be opportunities for other people in our community?
There will definitely be opportunities for other people, and even though we cite Sugarloaf as an example, we would need to have an owner or a potential developer come forward asking for use of those funds. Even then, the Brownfield Authority may determine that, you know, it's better off being used on other sites.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm aware that Trudy is working on several grants at this time, and I just would like to acknowledge and compliment her for the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's so good at it, isn't she?
We'll see if we're successful this time. Thank you. Good evening.
Head in the path.
All right, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the information technology, or DLT solutions maintenance. Commissioner Wagner.
I would move to approve renewing the maintenance agreement with DLT Solutions for rapid recovery backup software in the amount of $2,097.11. Funds to come from data processing fund number 636.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. That brings us to the Leland Dam Authority proposed AT&T contract renewal. Commissioner Weston.
I move to approve renewing the agreement with AT&T for Business Local Calling Unlimited Plan B on behalf of the Leland Dam Authority for the landline located in the Leland Dam control room at a 12-month term rate of $60 per line per month. Funds to come from account number ending in 801.000.
$65 a month.
Yes, $65 a month.
Or
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Rushton.
I would move to approve amendment number 2 to the contract between Leelanau County and MDHHS, changing the contract number and incorporating changes per the attachment articles.
Support.
Commissioner Lott.
can we slip Title 4E in there just for future references?
So what are you saying? Number 2 to the contract between Leelanau County, MDHHS, and Title 4?
For Title D.
It is Title 4 grant application.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
So,
Yes.
So can I just insert it in there so it makes
Yeah.
sense?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
Wherever it needs to be.
any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. And that brings us to the treasurer's office, the request to fill the deputy treasurer vacancy. Commissioner Westman.
I move to allow the county treasurer to seek and hire a suitable candidate for the deputy treasurer position.
I'll support.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Rushton.
I would move to approve uniform and gun allowance for the following non-union personnel through payroll with appropriate taxes withheld if receipts are not provided. Sheriff, $100 for a gun, $575 for a uniform, for a total of $675. The undersheriff, $100 for gun, $575 uniform, for a total of $675. Court bailiff, $150 for uniforms. I believe these are the 2 part-time court bailiffs, at $50 uniform each. Those expenses to come from account ending in 742. Marine deputies, 1 senior officer at $150. 3 junior officers at $100 each, for a total of $300, and those expenses to come from account ending in 742.
There is a difference in the two. One is 3, the last one is 313 and the first one is 301.
Okay, so we'll correct that. Expenses to come from 101-225-301-703.742. That's for the Sheriff's Department, and the bailiffs in the Marine Division is 101-225-331-703.742.
Thank you. Commissioner Ansel.
I'm assuming the Marine officers, this is uniform allowance,
It is only uniform.
so we should, if you would correct that, just,
You want me to, you,
just like up above, we specified what the money was for. Down here, for the Marine officers, we did not.
oh, that top portion goes for all of them. I have a colon in there, so it'll all be the same, but I can add that word, that's okay. I can add that, sure. Okay.
Any other questions or clarifications? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Rushing.
I would move to approve the transfer of $100,000 from the DTR fund number 516 to the general fund number 101 for an additional MERS liability payment.
Or
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Rushing.
Move to approve grant number 2021-57 between the state of Michigan, MIDC, LARA, L-A-R-A, and Leelanau County for the grant period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, with an authorized budget of $221,985.72, and funding to come from fiscal year state grant contribution, $169,204.76, and local share contribution of $52,780.96 as presented.
support.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Sutherland.
I move to approve the early childhood contract with the Leelanau District Health Department agreement.
Support. Any other questions about this?
I didn't hear a motion.
Oh, it's for the contract. I'm sorry, the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners moved the early childhood contract with Leelanau House District. He's approving the contract. We're not going to put the amount in it. And I think it's $640,000
In the contract.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Is that clear to you?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you very much. Now, then that brings us then to the 2021 Budget and 2021 Appropriations Act resolution. Yes, the one I referred to wrongly before. Commissioner Long.
I would move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve and adopt the 2021 General Appropriations Act Resolution number 2020-018 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Earlier this year, we, and I mentioned this last week, we amended the budget rules for this year to have Board of Commissioners review any vacancies before we fill those. Is this the appropriate time to add that under the bullet on the second page?
I would recommend that if you want to do it, because you approved it through December of this year, I can put it on the November agenda and make it a separate,
Thank you.
since you pass it as a separate policy.
Thank you.
Any other questions or statements? Okay, this would be a roll call.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rattenbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotos,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Answergi,
Yes.
Chairman Bonick,
Yes,
7-0.
thank you. So that brings us to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, block grant. This is a resolution as well. Commissioner Wessel.
I move approval of Leelanau County Resolution number 2020-019, Community Development Block Grant Authorizing Resolution for the CARES Act.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Commissioner Rushton. So that this will be a roll call as well.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Answergi,
Yes.
Chairman Bonick,
Yes.
Commissioner, you say yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rattenbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotos,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. And that would bring us to non-first responders hazard pay options. Commissioner Sotos.
I move to authorize the payout of $500 per employee not covered by the Federal CARES Act payout. Said payments are to be excluded from MERS. All eligible full-time and part-time employees must be on the payroll upon adoption of this motion.
Support.
Commissioner Lautner.
Since this, we had talked about this for quite some time, for weeks, actually, that this was our plan. And I think it was pretty well understood from our employees that this is what we were planning on doing, based on a lot of information that we know that hasn't been reported. And since it just recently hit the paper, I wish it had several weeks ago so we could have addressed a lot of these things. Some questions have come up. And one of them that was asked of me was whether or not we legally can do this. And do we have an opinion on whether we legally can do this, because it mirrors the CARES Act, but it is not the CARES Act.
Well, I don't have a legal opinion, but I'm pretty confident it is legal. It's your funding. You're allocating your tax dollars. This is not federal or state funding, so there's no criteria there. So I can confirm that, but before payments are made, if you prove it, but I don't see a issue. I know other units of government have done this legally. I know several counties have done this using their own funding. If you're using federal state dollars, then you have to meet the criteria, but this would not be. If you do it, this would be strictly county money that the seven of you as commissioners control.
Commissioner Rushton.
I have received several phone calls in regards to this issue. A lot of the citizens in our community are outraged that we are even considering this. And rightfully so to some degree. the claim was they all went out to their jobs and did their jobs, and we all know that argument. And I think that this action was taken in retaliation for the stipend that was allowed for the emergency services. And as I said before, big difference in what the two groups of people have done. For one thing, I commend our administrator, our staff, for positioning the workers in this building to be allowed to work in a safe environment. If I recall, we closed off that front section so that citizens could not walk through our building. Am I correct? We provided forms and things in the vestibule so that citizens could come here, do their business. If they had a question, I believe they were able to contact a specific department, and that department head or person could come out into the hallway with a visual distance between themselves and the client and be able to perform their duties. As I have said all along, we have a lot of heroes in our community that went out there, served at the grocery stores, served at our gas stations, and served in a lot of different ways. And I think it's an affront to the citizens of this community that we're willy-nilly handing out these to people on our campus that we took the extra measures to protect. And as I mentioned, there's a big difference between a police officer out there doing mouth-to-mouth or reaching his hand inside of a body to close off a bleeding artery or something like that. There's a huge difference. Or a confrontation with maybe somebody who is impaired. There's a big difference. I supported the sheriff's stipend as part of the CARES Act. However, I cannot support $500 per employee on this campus for all the reasons that I stated. One other issue. You know, a few months ago, as we were talking about our budget and our taxes, I believe Commissioner Budnick requested the board to consider reducing the taxation on our citizens by a very small margin. Granted, the return to the citizens would have been nominal. However, that could have been a sign of our appreciation to all of our citizens that went the extra mile to do the things that they did. So we missed an opportunity there to say thank you for the constituents that we serve, but instead, even after all the extra effort that we went to keep our employees safe, we gave them the options of working from home in a lot of instances. Some did furlough, I think few furloughed.
No, we didn't.
Nobody furloughed, but okay. We were very lenient with our workers, and they worked with us, and we appreciate that. But at the same time, we provided them a certain sense of security. So I'll move on. That's my opinion. I will not support this.
Commissioner Ansari.
When we had the discussion, we made the decision to include the 911 operators, even though they never face-to-face with
the public. And that was the decision that I looked at and said, well, if we're gonna give it to them, we have people in this building that are face-to-face with the public. How is that fair? And that, it wasn't fair. That was the determining factor for me, was that if we can give it to the 911 operators that don't have face-to-face contact, how can you go to somebody like senior services that was out there delivering meals and all that kind of stuff, face-to-face with all these people? It just was a matter of fundamental fairness. I understand the logic on the CARES Act of having first responders, but not all first responders are necessarily interacting with the public, at any more risk than anybody else. And in the case of 911, even less so. So that was the determining factor for me, and why I think fundamental fairness says we should be doing that.
Mr. Law.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I don't disagree. That's pretty much where I was going with what we did earlier. However, I am concerned about the wording. I would want to make sure that we word this absolutely right. And this is just October, so we've got some time. It doesn't have to be done in October. 911 was tied to the CARES Act, so legally I know we were allowed to do that because that was included in the CARES Act. But I know in the past we've been told we can't buy our employees a turkey at Christmas time with taxpayer money. So we can't buy meat platters, say, or anything like that. So I would rather just wait a month. Let's get some, or till our next meeting, whenever that is, and just get some wording to make sure that legally we're wording this correctly, if we do it. And then that I think we should do it because that's a promise we made to our employees. And I think we should word it correctly.
Well, I guess, I should speak too, because, I actually did not vote for giving the $500 to the sheriff's department, so I made a mistake last week in actually voting for it. When it was 7-0, I realized it was just wrong for me to do that. And since then, I've actually gotten several calls asking me why I did that, why I would do one and not the other. And so I just apologize because I did, and there's no way I think we should do this. Myself, number one, someone pointed out to me that this is a bonus, and can we give our employees bonuses? We call it what we want, it's a bonus, and we're allowed to do it through the CARES Act, but he didn't believe we could give a bonus to our employees, and why don't we just call it that? So I don't know, if that's true or not. I guess that would be one thing to find out. Then another person told me this was just greed. It was just greed on the part of the employees, which I didn't understand, and I told them that's not true. It was the employees that don't have any input in this as far as that goes. This is up to commissioners. But I also do remember that, I wanted to give every, paying citizen who pays property tax in the county $2 back. That's really all I asked for. And which is about the equivalent of probably what this would cost. And it would be much better served because they all have gone through COVID just as we have. But we wouldn't do that. So why do we do it only for the government employees? They're guaranteed their job. We're not really laying anybody off for any reason. And many of them are working at home. Well, not many, but some are. So it just all, to me, it all seems we're giving the wrong message out here, and we're doing the wrong thing. We're doing it for the right reasons, maybe, but we're doing the wrong thing. And the CARES Act allowed that, so we did vote for that. But this is just taking the people's money and deciding that the government employees deserve it more than they deserve it back. And that's the way this is being perceived, at least. We're telling the people that the government employees deserve money, their money, back more than they do. Because we refuse to give it back to them. And I mentioned COVID when I did bring that up in these hard times. So I think, we're giving the wrong perception if we vote to pass this on. But I definitely do think we need to find out if this is gonna, if this is considered a bonus. And if we can legally give a bonus, because I can remember when Networks North decided to give all their employees bonuses, that really was a problem, I thought. Because they said it was not taxpayer money, it was interest, which was different.
Right.
Somehow that was different to give it to them. But otherwise, it was illegal. So, you know, I'm not gonna vote either way for it, but I do think we need to find that out. I thought that was a very valid thing to look into. I certainly don't want us as commissioners to do something that's illegal. So I'm gonna vote no on this.
Move to table.
Support.
All right, so we have a motion to table this, and then this would be till our next meeting, executive meeting. Do you want to set a time?
Yes.
We could also just insert pending council review and approval, and that would accomplish the same thing. That would be my preference, if we'd amend the motion and say with council approval.
I think on a motion to table, that's supposed to end discussion at that time. So we need to vote on that motion before we get into a discussion on that, if we want to do it. So, I think this will have to be a roll call vote, because I have a feeling it's not going to be unanimous.
So you vote on the motion to table.
Yes, this is the vote on the motion to table.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rettenbach,
No.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sotis Little,
No.
Commissioner Wessel,
No.
Commissioner Answorthy,
No.
Commissioner Bunnick,
Yes,
fails.
motion fails. Okay, so now we'll move forward now with the regular motion in order to do the, what?
Point of order, he asked to amend his motion.
So did you want to make a motion to amend it?
I would like to do that. We can either make it a friendly amendment or make it official, either way.
Official.
Let's just make it official, we'll just vote on it twice.
That's my amendment.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
to be clear on the motion, could you repeat it, please? You want me to repeat it?
That's all you got.
Motion by Wessel to authorize a payout of $500 per employee not covered by the Federal CARES Act payout. Said payments are to be excluded from MERS. All eligible full-time and part-time employees must be on the payroll upon adoption of this motion, pending legal counsel review and approval.
Yeah, the amendment would be pending the legal counsel review. So we'll vote on that amendment to it. And again, just do a roll call.
Okay, so this will just be on the amendment for the pending legal counsel review. And that was made by Commissioner Wessel, so it'll be Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Answorthy,
Yes.
Chairman Bonick,
No,
Commissioner Lautner,
No.
Commissioner Rettenbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
No.
Commissioner Sotis Little.
Yes.
4-3 pass.
okay. So now we'll do the entire motion with the amendment onto it.
And you want that roll call?
Yes,
So may I ask a question?
absolutely.
The way this reads, it says, all eligible full-time and part-time employees must be on the payroll upon adoption of this motion. So in other words, do we have any new employees that have come on since our lockdown?
Well, we've been in COVID this whole time. It's more about the people that have left prior.
What about the people that left?
On your CARES Act, you had 2 Marine deputies that are no longer employed here who received the funding. So this motion includes everyone that's on the payroll as of the time of the motion.
Which means today.
Any other questions? So again.
Okay, so the original motion before the amendment was by Sotis Little, so that's the order I'm going to take. Okay, Commissioner Sotis Little,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Ansargi,
Yes.
Chairman Bonney,
No.
Commissioner Wapner,
No.
Commissioner Rettenbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton.
No.
4-3 passes.
Motion passes 4-3. Thank you. So then that then would bring us to a review of financials. Any questions, anyone?
I had one answer before the meeting, and that's all I had.
All right. So then we have any committee reports, recommendations, or resolutions? No. So then that's any special reports, commissioners or affiliate agencies? Commissioner Walker?
Yeah, I wanted to report that Housing Action Committee recommended to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission approved to be a partner with Housing North. So what that means is we basically bought a partnership for $1,000 value partnership with Housing North. So what Housing North what we get for this, basically, the partnership buys us a seat at all the housing table discussions. Here we go. We get complimentary registration at all housing roundtable events and online access to that after the events. We get 3 complimentary registrations for the Northwest Michigan Housing Summit. And we get the opportunity to participate in an annual Housing North Partner Roundtable with other housing leaders in the region and the state. So Housing Action Committee and Planning Commission both thought it was very important, especially since it buys the 3 complimentary registrations to the Housing North Summit, because we've got a lot of interest in attending that summit. And it's actually coming up this month. So we'll be sending 3 people to that. And we've just decided to do that for this first year, see how it goes. They have other partnerships clear up to, I think it was $5,000. But they chose the $1,000 membership partnership.
Commissioner Haynes?
Was this in their budget
Yes.
specifically for this?
No, not because it came up since.
If it wasn't in the budget, then it's got to come to us for approval before you spend the money.
It fit.
Unless I'm totally off in left
If
field.
it's less than 2,000, they can have the right to spend it without overruling. If the money's in their budget, it's not a line item by line item budget.
And it was the planning commission budget, not the housing action committee budget.
Yeah, they don't have a budget technically, so it's.
So the
they don't have
planning
a budget.
commission approved it.
So
That's
it's
where the
planning,
money
so it
comes
come out of the plan, that's correct, planning commission budget.
Any other reports?
Just a quick update from this afternoon's meeting. Mr. Klein, Mr. Elger, and I talked afterwards. If you have any, and we're going to meet probably in the next week to 10 days. If you have any specific questions, comments, ideas, suggestions, the follow-ups of these meetings, you can get them to me by next week. That'd be great. And then we'll try to keep you updated. We'll try to get those comments, concerns into the agreement. So call or email me with your thoughts or questions that you have. We'll try to respond. And so we're all 3 of us are doing the same thing with our boards to try to come up with a document that's acceptable for everybody.
Well, I just want to say the Building Safety Committee met and talked about a couple of things. One is we recommended that they add a deadline to appeals. I think it's up to 90 days.
That will be the recommendation.
Yeah. And then the other thing was we're having them look into doing a single fee for smaller homes. And they're going to try to come up with some kind of scenario or formula that can be used, or as Commissioner Sotis Little, maybe a percentage off depending on how it's going to be built.
So when you say a single fee, is that a single fee for electric, HVAC,
building,
Plumbing,
yes.
everything,
Yes.
all inclusive.
Right. And,
Okay.
and I mean, my hope is that we can also get the well and the septic in there, but that comes out of the health department.
That's a
We're
different
really
issue.
working on, right now, just what's here at the building safety department.
I think that's a great idea.
But they didn't seem too enthused about it, but they're gonna do it.
Yeah, but with that, are you going to limit the amount of inspections that can take place?
Can't do that.
No, and if they have additional inspections, that's what they said, they're gonna have to maybe add on to it.
Well, I guess that's what the point that I was trying to make.
Yeah,
You know, one price, I know you can't, eliminate inspections, but what I'm saying, for that one price, they're gonna get X amount of inspections.
right.
If there's something that goes over that, then you guys are gonna have to come up with some sort of.
That's the details we have to work out. It's a
Right.
great concept, but like most things, it's the details that have to be worked out. That's what.
That's why we thought they could work it out better than Patricia and I.
Probably.
At least we're not getting the complaints we used to about the repeated inspections, and that might be where that was coming from, that,
Right,
the pilot wasn't lit in the fireplace or something, and the inspector wouldn't wait for them to light the pilot to show them at work. So, we used to get a lot of complaints, and we haven't lately, so it's been great.
all right. Any other comments or things from the commissioners? So then that would bring us to public comment. If there is someone out there who wants to have public comment, please call 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109. So if there's anyone here. All right, and then there's commissioner comments while we're waiting.
A couple of comments. I had the opportunity to be at both Old Settlers and Miles Kimmerly this weekend, and we have such beautiful parks. And kudos to our maintenance staff for making them look so good, and it's even better with the fall colors. Then the other kudos, I thought the chair did a nice job with the meeting today with Grand Traverse County. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll move on then to amendments and transfers. I think we approve them. Commissioner Lager.
I would recommend approval of amendment number 20-010.
Support.
010?
201010.
Ken.
Oh, okay,
The
sorry.
amendment.
I typed it wrong on the sheet, that's why I was getting.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Commissioner Lager.
I move approval of fund transfer number 20-006.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Emergency claims and account.
I move for approval of claims and accounts, $211,642.10.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0.
I would move for approval of post audit, $4,452,822.70.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign.